Hey everybody, it's Michael Angelo Caruso. I have a special guest with me today. It's Shep Hyken. How you doing, Shep?
I am excellent. Thank you very much. Actually, the word I would use is amazing.
I'm sure you would. We're going to learn all about amazing Shep Hyken and what he thinks about customer service these days. Before we get started, everybody, we want to remind you that if you're watching the video version of this program, you can listen to the audio version on the Talk to Me podcast, which is available on Podbean, iTunes, lots of the formats. And if you're listening to the audio version, you can watch the video version on the Michael Angelo Caruso YouTube channel, where we've got lots of interesting people just like Shep. Dude, you are all over Twitter. How many followers now?
I don't know, 110, something like 115,000, something like that.
Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
you know exactly how many you have. That's
Well,
about right,
well, well,
110.
I get the report every week and I see how many we lose, how many we gain. I started on Twitter in 2009. I came home and I said, this looks like an interesting platform. I think it's been out there for a year or two, but I think it's starting to catch on. And it's been really good for me. We've picked up business from it. We've watched how Twitter has become a great, in my whole world of customer service, we've watched how Twitter has become a great communication channel between customers and the brands and companies they do business with. Um,
Yeah,
to prove the point, one day I'm flying from, I can't remember where, but I had to land in Dallas, Texas to change planes to fly back to St. Louis, Missouri, where I live. And we were circling and circling and circling because of bad weather. And I realized I'm going to miss my connection. So I was on the internet while flying on the airplane. We pay for those privileges, right? It's only $10 a flight or something like that. And I direct messaged American Airlines through Twitter and said, I'm in the air. I'm going to miss my connection in Dallas. We're just circling. Can you please help me? Here's my frequent flyer number. And 10 minutes later, they said, we've protected you on the next flight, or whenever that was, something to that effect. And I went, wow, that's amazing. Just to make sure it wasn't an anomaly, same thing happened about 3 or 4 weeks later, and the same exact scenario and the same type of response. And I thought, well, this is great. So I would encourage people, since we're talking about Twitter, if they ever want to reach out to a brand, by the way, the key is I'm not broadcasting it to the world. I'm connecting with them as a direct message, giving them a chance to respond to me before, if I was a disgruntled customer, many will broadcast to the world. The key to getting what you want is to do it with dignity and respect to the brand. If they don't respond, you might have to go to more public ways of getting what you want. And I know we're going to be talking about customer service, but my buddy Jay Bear says it best. If a customer goes public on a social media channel, basically customer service becomes a spectator sport
yeah,
because
yeah,
everybody gets to see what's happening and how the company responds.
yeah. For those of you not on Twitter, you can do something called a DM or direct message, which is what Shep did with the airline. And that's you talking directly to the customer service rep, and then behind the curtain, I call it behind the curtain and in front of the curtain,
Yeah,
it'll help you out. If you hashtag them, everybody sees it. That's when it becomes a spectator sport. And I've had to use combinations of both of those circumstances. A lot of times, if you tag them, here's another idea, tag them and compliment them. And then I
right.
say, I'm normally really happy with you, but I've got a problem today. Can you help? And they'll move you to DM pretty quickly because that's where they want to take care of it behind the curtain.
Right. And that's the secret. We tell all the clients that we work with, they want to know, how do we handle social media? Well, if it becomes social at the beginning with the complaint, you need to respond quickly as a brand, and you need to say, this is not what we want our customers to typically experience. We'd love to help you out. Would you mind giving us your information so we can connect via direct message? And then the other suggestion I always tell my clients is, if you're going to move them off of Twitter, or maybe it's on another social network, you can, as long as you only move them to one other place, and that's the phone. Because
Right.
you can't move saying, hey, you know what, we'd be better off handling this on Facebook instead of Twitter. You don't switch channels like that.
Yeah. Uh, I think Twitter is also really good for you. You can confirm this if you want or deny it. Because customer service is an ongoing, persistent kind of discipline, your general reminders about best practices work really good in the Twitter format, now 280 characters. Because here's Shep coming at you again with yet another gentle reminder about best practices. You find that that's the case with how you're growing your Twitter base?
I think that there's several things. For me, growing my Twitter base, it's engagement. I don't just post, and forget about it. Every single day, usually twice a day, and sometimes more, depending on what I've posted on any of the channels. I get a report. It's a report. It's an email from someone on my team that says, please respond. And Twitter, there's 5 messages that I need to respond to, 10 messages.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, sometimes you'll say so many comments, click here and start answering them. But the key to anybody being successful in Twitter, and if you're a brand, you want to be successful not just in customer service, but you want to be successful as a part of the community. You can't go one direction. It's social media, not monologue media.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's the case.
respond and engage and have a
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, this whole thing about knowing your community, knowing your customer base. It can't be one-way communication, which is what a bulk email is, right? Which is what a website uh, page is. It's one way. But when you really have that easygoing relationship where you're talking to each other as human beings, I think that's like the holy grail in
Yeah.
customer service.
And customers really appreciate it. And so one other comment about this, and I kind of hit on it, is speed is really important. How
Yeah,
quickly you respond. And here's the other thing: if you've got a compliment, say thank you. It's easy. That's it. Just
yeah,
say thank you. Hey, appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed the experience. We love hearing that kind of thing from our customers. Come again.
yeah.
Just do something, because everybody deserves some type of response, even if it's just a like. Just like it. Let them know that you saw it.
Well, that's how we connected initially. I like your stuff. I'm a big fan of yours, especially on Twitter. And I had commented or liked a few times, and then we got a quick dialogue going because somebody on your end, I didn't know it was you at the time, but it's even more
It's
impressive that it was you.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to share how the sausage is made in the sausage factory. I already told you.
We're not supposed to want to know that.
Right. But this is good for anybody, an individual, a major brand. I can't possibly all day monitor every single channel, because we're on every social media channel, just as a brand should be on every social media channel. And most of the comments probably aren't worth responding to, but that doesn't mean you can't like it. Okay.
That's right.
If you see words underneath somebody's comment, okay, I have written them.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
If you see a heart sign, maybe not. Okay. But if there's somebody that is going to ask a question, that's going to make a really sometimes a very thoughtful comment, they deserve an answer, and they don't deserve a mechanical answer. They don't deserve an answer from anybody other than the source. And
Yeah.
that's what I do. That's my brand. That's who I am. So if you ever see anything posted, other than they may clean it up, because I'll type it out. And so I get this long email, and underneath each one, type, make the message, send it back. And, they fix the misspellings. Okay. But that's about it. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they put them on the appropriate channel. And I love that. And then, so it's kind of fun. By the way, I just want to say, for those that are watching this video wise, I don't normally wear a jacket like this to work every day. Can we tell them why? Okay,
Sure.
because I'm thinking I've got to this is bothering me, because I'm normally dressed pretty casual, but I have a new book coming out, and it's not so much that I'm promoting the book, but what the heck, let's do it, right?
Let's
It's
do it.
called "I'll Be Back: How to Get Your Customers to Come Back Again and Again." This is the the uncorrected proof, the galley, and "I'll Be Back" is kind of a Terminator theme. There you go. Got my glasses.
Perfect.
I don't quite look like Arnold, and I smile a little bit more than he did in Terminator. But with the concept of "I'll be back," and I didn't even think it was Terminator-esque till my publisher said, "That's a great book. I hope you're going to get Arnold Schwarzenegger to endorse it for you." I go, "Well, that's a great goal. And by the way, I've been working on that." But we're doing a photo shoot this morning. So, I broke away, and I'm going to go back and do more when we're finished. But we've got some fun promotional ideas coming with the book. So
I'll Be Back is the name of the book. It's available at hyken.com, and I imagine all good bookstores everywhere, including the
yeah.
online ones.
Pre-pub, if you buy it, before the book comes out. And if you're watching this in the next 2 or 3 months or listening to it, it will be before the book comes out. You will instantly get the ebook. So the ebook is ready to go. It's in the can, but we want people to get their customers to say, I'll be back as soon as possible.
I love it. I hope it takes off for you big time.
Thanks. Well, I mean,
I've
after
been,
the thousands and thousands of listeners and viewers of this show, I can't imagine it wouldn't be a bestseller.
oh, I'm going to make you a star, man. So I've been watching videos and reading about you and studying your work, and there seem to be some key ingredients, according to the book of Shep Hyken, about remarkable customer service that, and there may be more, but two I've identified are that it takes extra time in most cases to deliver great customer service, and the other is extra attention. Time plus attention equals great customer service. Is there another part of the equation that I'm missing, or does that pretty
Oh,
much spell it out?
and already I think some people might be scared based on what you said, but let's talk about time and attention. It's not so much a lot of extra time. It could be
Right?
moments. It could be not even time you give the customer, but that, like, before we came on today, number one, who is this guy, Michael Angelo Caruso? I've got to find out before I get on. So I'm going to do a tiny bit of homework before I get on the show. Listen to one of your shows. I have a sheet over here that gave me an idea of what the questions you were going to be asking. So time might be preparation. So here's an example. If I'm in the customer support world, for example, and you call me, your name may pop up on the screen. We may verify this is who you are. And there should be a program that allows me to know who you are, what you've bought before. And if I can just simply look at the screen, literally for seconds, and say, Michael, can I call you Michael, by the way? Of course you can. I noticed that you called just last week. Is this about the same issue? And all of a sudden, boom. Now that's time and attention right there.
Yeah.
I spent literally a second or two to make sure. Now, one of the things that we also preach to our clients is that sometimes spending a little extra time with your customer is what makes the difference between a regular experience and an emotionally connected experience. Many times customers feel really endeared to the brand or the company if they felt that somebody gave them time. They answered my questions for me. They actually made suggestions to me. That comes from not just answering. If you said, hey, I need to, I'll give you a great example. By the way, something in my throat. I won't tell you the name of the company, but I'll tell you their initials, AT&T. And so I called AT&T not that long ago to ask a question about my bill. And they gave me the answer. And if that's all they would have done, I would have said that was a good experience. But they did something extra. She said, let me look at your account. I noticed that you've got 5 people on your account. I'm going to make sure you're getting the best rate. Whoa. I didn't expect that, did I? Literally, again, taking 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds. But what would have happened if maybe 3 months from now, I would have realized, you know what, I've been paying too much. And then I have to call and get them to make the move. She did that for me without me asking. That's time and attention. You're paying attention to your customers. And I think that's really, really important to keep in mind. And that's just a basic example. I tell a story about a taxi cab driver. And I've been telling this story for many, many years. But essentially, this driver said, hey, we're on the way to the airport. If you've got an extra few moments, I'd love to show you this fountain. It's a famous landmark. It's right off the highway. Literally, it'll take us 2 or 3 extra minutes. And what did that 2 or 3 extra minutes get him? Well, he enjoyed showing me the fountain, but he enjoyed the much larger tip that I gave him as well. Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes really what our customers want is for us, whether it's customer support, whether we're engaging in a sales process, is us to give them a little bit of extra time.
Great story, by the way. I look for patterns in customer service, and it seems to me, and I don't know if this is a fair assessment or not, that women seem to be better at customer service. I don't know if it's because it requires a higher attention of detail. I don't know if it's because the women are more likely to deliver that little bit of extra time and attention that you're referring to. I mean this as a compliment, by the way, when I say women are better at it. What does your research show? What's your experience?
Well, I think women are better at a lot of things. And
Yeah.
is that a slam to men? I think truth, I mean, my research is not my research, it's my reading of research in
Yeah.
this particular area. But I think women have a better ability to communicate. They also tend to, and this is a good thing, especially in service and even in sales, is I think they tend to throw some kind of a when I use the word emotion, they evoke emotion. They connect at a different level. It's just natural communication styles between men and women. You know, I joke about that in my speech. I talk about the difference between, like my wife and I, when she says, "Honey, would you like ice cream?" And I think, not really tonight. And really, what I didn't realize is she wasn't asking me if I wanted ice cream. She was saying she wanted ice cream, and here I just blew it, right? But there's different communication styles. Everybody, if they go to work at a customer support level, they learn how to properly communicate, man or woman. But I will tell you something. Women have been, and you see this in, why did we just come off of Women in Business Month or some type of recognition? It's because women aren't getting the recognition that they deserve, that their capabilities aren't about staying at home and taking care of the kids. You're starting to see more and more men staying home and taking care of the kids. You're starting to see responsibilities that were traditionally for men all of a sudden being given to women and taken away from men. And I believe
Yeah.
it wasn't until the early 70s where they were even allowed to have a credit card. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Why is it that men were allowed to vote at one point and women weren't? I don't get that. I don't understand it. I mean, to me, people are people, equality is equality, but there's no doubt that there are certain personalities, and whether it's a man or a woman, those personalities are better suited for the different roles in the customer service world.
I came up through the music business, and I've decided that I don't know that everyone can learn how to play a musical instrument. Like if you don't have this innate sense of rhythm or pitch, maybe it's just not for you. Marcus Buckingham talks about the forehand and the backhand when it comes to business skills. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
that men can learn to communicate as well as women? Or do you think that it's just not genetically possible, or that we're not wired that way?
Well, I think certain people, and it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman, is not wired that way. And so, we can speak in bigger generalities. I also, as you can tell in my background, behind me have my guitars, and I keep these at the office for when everybody leaves, and I get to play at nighttime and just get my brain back centered and relaxed so I can go back and do more writing. But um, I don't want to get myself in trouble in saying that men aren't as good as women or women aren't as good as men, because I'll stand behind the statement I made a moment ago. Uh, there are different behavioral styles, man or woman. And if the man or the woman have a similar behavioral style and it's a communication style, it doesn't matter whether they're a man or a woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get you to take the bait on that. What about generational issues?
Generational, no doubt about generational issues. So I actually last year did a report that is my research. It's called the 2020 ACA survey, Achieving Customer Amazement. And in this, let's see if I can find the stat. In fact, yeah. So the channels of communication that different customers use to communicate with companies changes based on age. So we just looked for over 40 versus under 40. And the over 40 age group, what do you think the number one method of communication to a brand is?
Phone.
Exactly, phone. And the basically social media was the number one for people under 40. The difference, however, wasn't all that big. It wasn't like, oh, big difference over here, big difference over there. No, because a lot of times, especially in the social media world or any kind of self-service function, the younger generation, meaning under 40, is willing to take self-service first before they go to talking to an agent. But over 40, they're just so used to having picked up the phone all their lives. I mean, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, so to speak. But
But this is going to be a problem moving forward if the younger generation continues to move towards self-service and I don't really want to talk to
mhm.
you. I don't care to have a relationship. I don't need any new friends. But the best practices for customer service from people like you is get people on the phone,
Oh,
talk to
on
them
the
against their
contrary.
will.
On
Okay.
the contrary, no. We preach that our clients need good self-service solutions. Now, you can be the type of business that like they don't call us for customer support, but you should still have frequently asked questions on a
Yes.
website if that's appropriate. You should have video tutorials on how to do certain things. And if you teach your customers how to use those, regardless of age, they'll go and do it. So I'll give you a perfect example. I believe, I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but the first airlines to do self-service, meaning go online and book your reservation, was Delta Airlines. Shortly thereafter, everybody did. They were all kind of working on it at the same time. So how do we start getting people to stop calling the reservationist, the customer agent, the support agent, and get them to start using the computer? Well,
We make it more convenient than calling.
well, not just, it is more convenient, but you have to teach the customer that it's more convenient,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But how do you get them to do it? Offer them an extra 500 or 250 miles or whatever it is. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll check it out. Wow, this was easier than I thought it was going to be. It's
Yeah.
intuitive. And by the way, it's
Yeah.
even improved. Now, if you go to Delta Airlines, American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, United, they all have a little different nuance to them, but they're still pretty intuitive as
Yeah.
to how it works. And that was the first step. Now we've got this online boarding pass. Print your boarding pass out at home. By the way, you no longer have to print your boarding pass at home. You just put it on your phone and walk in with it, which is even better. But we've got to teach our customers that that's available. Once again, if you will print your boarding pass, not only will you save time by not having to go to the ticket counter, unless you're checking bags and you have to go check your bags, but you will, it's just so much more convenient. And we'll give you another 250 bonus miles just for trying it
I,
out. Okay.
I remember, you probably do too. I remember when McDonald's first gave you the empty paper cup to go fill up your own damn beverage. I'm like,
Yep.
what the hell is this? You're already not doing that much for me. Now I got to do some of the work. What we didn't know at the time was it cleared up the bottleneck at the counter. It moved people away from the counter so they could serve people faster. It turned out people liked getting their own drinks,
Yeah.
filling up the ice. They could adjust the ice to their level. It was a great solution for everybody.
Yeah. And that's exactly the type of thing. Sometimes, the joke, there's a great, if you go on YouTube and you type in the self-service checkout at a grocery store, there's some comedians that have just done a hilarious job of really making fun of self-service at the grocery store. But have you used self-service at the grocery store?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you find it to be more convenient, quicker than
It did,
waiting in the longer line with the person in front of you that has 50 or 100 items in their basket?
almost always. Sometimes I have a tricky item like produce. With produce, I don't want to go to self-service. It's almost always going to be a hassle.
Well, actually, it could be a hassle, but do you notice, and this is what every good self-service solution is, the grocery store is a perfect example. I'll bet there is an employee who's right around that grocery or that checkout area that
To
when you
help, yeah.
say, I can't scan this, then this pair, okay, it's not, I don't know how to get it, and they will come over and help you. And that's a
Yep.
great example that every self-service option needs a human backup. You can't let
Yep.
it operate on its own and expect that it's going to be perfect, because it is perfect until it's not. And
That's it.
the best, you're online, and then the difference, and I'm going to throw some terminology at the audience here. There's multi-channel and omni-channel, and this could be pretty boring, but I kind of get excited about it because maybe that's what I do. But multi-channel means, you can reach me on all my social media channels. Okay, you can reach me. You can do self-service. There's chat bots. There's video, et cetera, et cetera. Omni-channel is you can reach me on all those channels, but they all work together. So if you're on a social channel, even talking to a chat bot, which means it's a robot, a computer that's giving you your answers, and it's not making you happy, and they give you a quick way to get to a human, which is the way it should be, seamless. Once you're talking to that live agent, the live agent should be able to see, oh, I see you have a question about whatever it is you were talking about to the computer, you don't have to start your whole story all over again. And even better, if you're online filling out some type of paperwork and you struggle, and then you pick up the phone, and that agent in the perfect world should be able to see, oh, I notice you're on the computer working on this form. You're stopped at question 6. Are you, what can I do to help you with that? I mean, and some people go, wow, that's amazing. And other people are just like, how do they do it?
Well, it is so frustrating to have to repeat the
Yeah,
problem you're already irritated about 2 or 3 times as you go up the escalation channels.
right. Shouldn't have to
Hey,
happen.
yeah, this has been so fun, man. I've got one more question. It's an extreme scenario question. Shep Hyken, everybody, hyken.com. The new book is called I'll Be Back. Um, Extreme customer service situation, cancel culture. What happens when a company gets stink on them so badly, whether it's deserved or not? Social media is vibrating. Refunds are coming in faster than you can redeem them. Uh, Reputation's at stake. CNN's knocking at the door. What can be done in that kind of a situation to reverse the trend?
Sure. So I'm going to share with you 2 scenarios that I would consider brand crises that most people will remember that happened in the last 2 to 3 years. They're so big. The first is United Airlines. Do you remember what happened to a
Then when
passenger
they
on United?
drag the guy off and he's bleeding and
Yeah. They
altercation.
physically dragged him off. And that was a terrible thing to have happen. And by the way, there was a couple of other things that happened shortly thereafter that were just like, oh man, it's just they're adding fuel to the fire. But in my opinion, and by the way, I'm not knocking United here. It is what it is. The history's there. They didn't handle it the right way. It took 2+ weeks for the CEO to finally make his comment. What could have happened differently? Well, let's look at another brand, Starbucks. Starbucks had a crisis happen in Philadelphia about 2 years ago. And by the way, I've lost track of time just a little bit because in the last year, it seems like life was erased for a year during COVID. It's just a bizarre thing. So it's kind of thrown off my timeline a little. But do you remember what happened at that Starbucks in Philly?
They had asked people to leave, and maybe even law enforcement at one point.
Yeah, you're right. So isn't that amazing? So I'm going to say it was almost 3 years ago that you remember both of those incidents. That's how big they were. What happened is there were 2 African-American gentlemen sitting at Starbucks waiting for a friend. They hadn't bought anything yet. One of them had to go to the bathroom. The bathroom's locked. You got to get the key from the manager or from somebody to be able to get in. And the manager said, look, you haven't bought anything. We only let customers use the bathroom. By the way, since you haven't bought anything, you're going to have to leave, something to that effect. And they said, we're waiting for a friend. And this gentleman just went and sat down. And the manager picked up the phone and called the police and said, we've got a couple of customers that aren't leaving. I've asked them to leave. Actually, they weren't customers. That's why she wanted them to leave. And right about the time the police came and were handcuffing these guys and taking them out, they handcuffed them. Okay. The friend walks in. So now, this is what happened. So I don't remember what day of the week it happened, but within, I'm going to say minutes, not even hours, who found out about it? Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. And he
Right.
immediately responded. And by the way, I'm going to share with you the exact 5 steps that he used in a moment. And it's the same 5 steps that you would use when somebody says, I've got a problem with my phone, or even the smallest little problem that they call you about. It's the same 5 steps, magnified to a crisis or the tiniest little issue. And so what happened is Howard Schultz said, I've got to learn a little bit more about the situation. I think he was more proactive with the press once he found out about it. I'm going to be flying to Philadelphia. I'm leaving in just a few hours. He was there the next morning to talk about it. He didn't make he didn't say, hey, you know what, once in a while we hire somebody bad. No, he said, we try not to let this. He was taking responsibility for what happened without, it's obviously he wasn't there in Philly, but he goes, look, this is going to happen, and we do our best to try to keep it from happening. And he even said, I'm not exactly sure what the ultimate solution is right now. We need to deal and take care of these two gentlemen that were obviously, you know, the misrepresentation and the abuse they went through is just ridiculous. But here are the 5 steps. You acknowledge a problem, you apologize for the problem, and you can acknowledge and apologize in either order. So that's 1 and 2. Number 3 is you discuss what the resolution is going to be. Number 4 is you take ownership when it comes your way. It may not be your fault, but it now becomes your responsibility. And number 5, you act with urgency. If I'm at a restaurant and there's something wrong with my food, I might say something to the server, hey, you know what? Look at this. This just doesn't look right. And the server might say, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry. You're right. It is, or, you know, it needs to be right. So all of a sudden the apology and the acknowledgement, I'm really glad you told me, an acknowledgement. I'm going to take it right back right now and get a new one for you. So in that last statement, they said, I'm going to take it back. I am going to do it. That means they didn't blame it. Another person might say, you know what, apparently they didn't know what they were doing back there in the kitchen. I'll make sure they do it right next time. No, that's blaming others. And you don't need to do that. You just say, I will take care of it and I'll be back in just a minute or two. That's urgency. So what Howard Schultz did is he apologized for what happened. He acknowledged it was going on. He says, I'm going to head to Philadelphia right now to figure out what's going on, and we're going to work this out. That's kind of the resolution. It's also saying, I'm going to do this. I'm not putting somebody else in charge of this very important issue that happened. And acting with urgency, he was there the very next morning, okay? And what was the final outcome? He even said that day, I don't know exactly what the total resolution is going to be, but I'm going to get back to you soon about that. And do you remember, by any chance, this is now I'm going to push you on your memory. Do you remember what happened after that? Do you remember what they did to try to resolve it? So a couple of months, he announced it within a couple, 3 weeks, I believe, but within a very short time, within a couple of months, Starbucks shut down the entire North American operation for an
for a training day. That's right.
Exactly. You remember it, right? For a training day.
Now.
And he even said, Howard said, I don't know if this is going to make a perfect solution, but we're doing our best. So it's probably going to happen again. And we hope that other companies will take the effort to at least try to keep it from happening, you know, at the frequency these types of things would happen. So I love what he did. It was like the perfect example of handling a crisis. And it's the exact same 5 steps when somebody calls and says, hey, my computer's not working. I want to return it.
Yeah. You know, some CEOs will be listening to this this recording or watching the video and thinking to themselves, I am not going to put the preposition I in any kind of an apology, because people have, top CEOs, universities, companies, have been fired for something that happened 4 or 5 levels down. How can a well-meaning CEO protect himself or herself from actually getting fired because of something like this? Why didn't Howard Schultz get the axe? It's happened at other companies.
Sure. You know, the buck stops here. Harry Truman, that was one of our great presidents. I guess he was a president, so he had to be great, right? You know, said the buck stops here, basically saying, you know, if there's something that happened, I'm in charge. But using the word I or making people feel as if the company is taking responsibility for what's going on, I think if you want to change the words around, you can, but the implication has to be there that we care. We're taking responsibility. This is not going lightly. This particular incident, and I believe that Starbucks has a culture that's very inclusive, and this is so against what their culture was that a guy at the top decided, I need to take this one into my own hands. I actually don't know if somebody would get fired for that or applauded for that. And in most situations, I would think they would get applauded.
I'm thinking about, and this is another, it's perhaps not business customer service, but I'm in Michigan, right? And Larry Nassar from the gymnastics world was caught on some very, very serious bad customer service, especially for a physician. And it went all the way up the chain to the president of the university, Michigan State. You know, and people hold, I think it was a woman at the time, I might be wrong about that. In any case, they wanted to hold the president accountable for something that was happening. And it was because reports had been filed previously, you know. And to your point, it wasn't addressed properly, urgently, the first 2 times it was reported, maybe maybe even the complaint was ignored. And you're right, man, that's deadly.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that is very difficult when you're in a position and something happens. It's human nature to try to fix it, and fixing it in some cases is like, okay, this can't happen again. Let's just call this a warning. Well, maybe it shouldn't have been a warning.
That's right.
In today's world, several things. Number one, there's this incredible acute attention on being politically correct, being inclusive, saying the right thing, creating a problem. I mean, I try to be as, I don't believe I'm prejudiced in any way. There's no doubt you can profile people based on stereotypes. Okay. Uh, we joke about Blazing Saddles, which when I was younger as a kid, that was a very, very funny movie. Today, that's the most politically incorrect movie. And I would look at that and go, whoa, how can they get away with that? So, part of it is generational, what was accepted at a time. We can't destroy history. We can learn from history. And maybe, what was right 20 years ago is not right today. And we've got to get used to that. There was someone in my office, we always joke about this example. She came in, she said, hey, I need to get a book signed. I go, who do I sign it to? Well, they would love it if you would personally sign it. Okay. Who do you want to sign it to? Bob. Bob and who else? What do you mean, Bob and who else? Well, you said they would like it signed to them personally. Oh, you didn't. Bob, what's the word I'm looking, affiliates as a they, not him. And I go, oh, well, it would have been nice after my confusion if you explained that to me without me having to ask. Okay. But see, I'm trying to be politically correct at all times and sensitive to all of these inclusive issues. But sometimes people need help understanding what you're saying. Don't, and by the way, at my age, which isn't all that old, but since the time I was a little kid, they or them was plural for something. Okay. And only in the last maybe year or two has this become, something that we have to learn. But if you're going to say, hey, they want something, well, who are they? Okay. They is Michael. They is Bob. They is Cindy or whomever. Okay. It doesn't matter. They could be one person, but sometimes you're going to need to help me to understand that. Today in writing, if you want to write informally, which is acceptable, I can say the customer came to the store. They were going to buy this. And I used a singular customer with the plural following that because I want to be inclusive, he, she, of everybody. So here we are going off on a tangent here. Squirrel. Okay, there it is. But this is to get back to your original question. Somebody at the top, the university, at a corporate, entity of any kind, can they take responsibility for what's happening down on the front line? I think they have to accept the responsibility of managing whatever good or bad comes their way. They get to have that. If it's bad, they got to be the one in charge of making it right. Okay. And if they don't do that, well, then they may be the person that is deserved to be called on the carpet in front of their board and maybe let go in certain cases. So if I hear of some type of misappropriation or bad behavior, I need to deal with it. I can't sweep it under the rug anymore.
And you've got me thinking about time dilation and how what might have been acceptable 20 years ago, I think Blazing Saddles was closer to 40 years ago, but
40
still the
years.
same point.
See, I lose track of time.
Well, let's do it again. Let's telescope time again. What happened 20 months ago in a customer service snafu may not be okay today. We're becoming less forgiving because if you don't fix it when you have a chance to, there's a huge penalty to pay. And I'm taking that lesson from you today. That's something everybody should be paying attention to.
Right. Customers are smarter than ever. And you may think you're delivering great service. And there's plenty of research out there that will show you that the executive that thinks they have great service is often not in alignment with what the customer thinks of the company. So that's one quick important thing to remember. Number two, our customers are smarter. And you may say, well, we've got the best service in the industry. They're not comparing you to your industry anymore. They're not comparing you to your competitors. They're comparing you to the best service they've ever had. And that could be, they love Amazon. They love Nordstrom. They love the shoe repair store down the street. They love the way the person at this manufacturer that they do business with, that inside sales rep, they love the attention they get. And all of a sudden, that person sets the bar for everybody. And the last point of this is that today, if you're in the B2B world, business to business, your customers, even though they're business, are thinking about service and the way they're handled on the consumer side, B2C. And so we need to recognize that I don't care if you're into selling huge machinery to other companies. Yeah, you're being compared to Amazon.
Can you see a guy buying popcorn from a popcorn vendor on the street? Why can't you be more like Amazon?
I just was talking to a guy the other day, and we came up with a great, I think it's something he may actually do, but if one of the questions I always said is, if a competitor buys your business, are they going to bring their ideas into your business, or are they going to bring your ideas into the new business? And then he came back and he said, well, if Amazon were to buy your business, what would they keep and what would they get rid of? Oh, that's a great question. So makes for fun, interactive conversation.
I've enjoyed it very much. I wish you the best with your new book. I'll be back. It's Shep Hyken, everybody. Hyken.com, Hyken.com. He's all over Twitter, all over social. Thanks very much, Shep, for keeping the bar high on customer service and helping everybody do better with this.
Well, my pleasure. And thanks for having me on the show. This was great.
Thank you, sir.